pun teruskan alasan musuh.
Are we live? I'll just stop. Hello, this is Happy TV reporting live from Simei Field. This is the last rally of the election season. It's day 9. It's going to be cooling off day tomorrow, so there's going to be no coverage, no rallies, and certainly no political pieces that are allowed to be published. So given that it's the last rally of the season, the crowd here seems to still be quite sparse. I'm going to pan for a while just to show you what the crowd number is like. It can pan or not, bro. So it's 7 p.m. And I can see about 50 people milling about on the field. Now this is in sharp contrast to the last time when I was here, which is for a Workers' Party rally. That rally saw about 30,000 people. But then again, it's only 7 p.m.
Good evening, residents of East Coast. How are you today?
PAP rallies are usually due to start at 7:30. It appears that it might start a bit earlier, so let's pan over and watch the show.
At Bedok Stadium, let's see a show of hands. Right, a lot of you are familiar. Let's go through one round. How many people here are from Bedok constituency? How many from Singaporean constituency? And how many of you are from Kampong Chai Chee? And last but not least, how many here are from Changi Simei? That's the spirit. And how many of you are from East Coast GRC? Let's do a warm-up. Majulah Singapura! Majulah Singapura! Majulah Singapura! Ladies and gentlemen, today is the day, the last day of campaigning. If today is the day that we will show our support for the People's Action Party. Today we will rumble so hard that the blue curtain will be pushed back to wherever it came from. And our first speaker for today, let's put our hands together from Bedok constituency, Miss Eunice Chia.
Good evening, residents of East Coast GRC and friends. Many of you are probably familiar with my story because it's your story too. Our parents were poor and now we're doing better than our parents. And we want our kids to do better than us. Yes? Yes. In the 70s and early 80s, my mother was working as a domestic worker for the expatriate families. Some call her Ama, some call her Assam. Every few years, she'll have to look for a new job because her employer will relocate back to the US or to the UK or wherever that they came from. Then, in the mid-80s, she found that she's been displaced. The foreign domestic workers have taken away her job. Did she blame Ting Hu? No. My mother moved on and found a job in a hotel as a chambermaid. She worked in a hotel for a while. Then it was the oil crisis, and she lost her job again. During that time, there was no jobs credit, no working in the US, in Hong Kong, and in China. Was I afraid of losing my job? Yes, I was very afraid. Did I blame Ding Hu? No. You know what happened after I hired my replacement? I got promoted. So I felt really, really, really blessed. As workers, we have to pull out our socks and strive to value add and stay relevant to our employers. We have skills future credit now. We should really plan on how we can upskill and prepare ourselves for global challenges. I tell my children, the day the foreign workers stop coming to Singapore is also the day that the jobs are no longer here. We have 3 children, and knowing them, they are not the NUS type. In fact, most of us will not have NUS kids because there are so few places in NUS. So when our kids don't make it to NUS, do we blame Ding Hu? No. But my children have dreams and aspirations too. So during our Singapore conversation, I shared that my children are not academically inclined and may not make it to the NUS. One of them wants to be a lawyer, one of them wants to be a busker, play music at MRT stations, and another one wanted to be a voice actor. I think Minister Lim Swee Say heard me, because the next thing I know he said, value every worker and one race to the top, meaning to say that whether you're a graduate or you're non-graduate, you should be put on the same career path, and your promotion, your increments should be based on your capabilities, on your achievements, on your performance. Then I hear Ding Hu start to talk about many paths to success, aspire, skills, and how important it is to ensure that our future generation of workers have relevant skills and not necessarily a degree. And hearing PM Lee talk about chasing the rainbow yesterday, it gives me hope that my daughter who loves music will have a path to success. A few years ago, I asked my older daughter, what do you want from the government? And she said, opportunities to achieve my dreams. As parents, we should let our children develop at their own pace, discover their interests and their passions. And the best thing we can do for our children is to work for the government that will create opportunities for them to live their dreams. My 15-year-old daughter told me she's been reading up on the candidates who are contesting in the East Coast GRC. She wants to know what they can do for her community, and for her country. So, voters of East Coast GRC, I urge you to also consider what these candidates can do for you, for your community, and for our country. About 3 years ago, my friend living here in Sept was very upset. She was upset that FairPrice will be closed when East Point undergoes renovation. She asked me to send a petition to Ms. Jessica Tan for an interim FairPrice to be opened. I know Jessica was in the US for a business trip, so I emailed the petition to her. It was a Saturday afternoon, so that means to say it's past midnight in the US. But within 20 minutes, she gave me a response and an assurance. That's her commitment to her residents. Thank you, Jessica, for taking care of Chinese female residents. Do we have poor people in Singapore? Of course we do. Every country has poor people. It's not a sin nor a crime to be poor. But Singaporeans on social media like to punish our Ding Hu for having poor people. So every time there's a poor person, someone on social media will post a photograph, take a video, and shame our Ding Hu. One such case happened a few years ago in Kampong Chai Chee. During that time, I was quite kaypoh. So my husband and I went down to see. Then we discovered that Mr. Li Yixian had already established a network to help this old lady. She is very well taken care of. There are people who bring her meals, people who read newspapers to her and spend time with her. The only challenge with this lady was her mental health. But since she caught the media attention, the healthcare workers came in, brought her to IMH. She underwent treatment. Last I heard, she has gone home already. And now she's also participating in community events. So thank you, Mr. Lee, for taking care of Kampong Chai Chee residents. Dr. Dr. Maliki is my MP, and I want to thank him for bringing bus number 4 to Flora Road and the express bus to the CBD. I like the way Dr. Maliki fosters community ties to micro-communities. For example, a homemaker can visit a lonely elderly patient, a person living in the same block, or a special needs teacher can help a neighbor with a special needs child. Dr. Maliki also tried very hard to get into the condos on Flora Road, and once he managed to get in, he keeps coming back. Thank you, Dr. Maliki, for taking care of Siglap residents. When my husband and I decided to do more than just vote, we chose to volunteer at Bedok because our strength is in letter writing, and we considered that we're probably better at helping the heartlanders write their appeal letters to the authorities. We didn't know that Minister Lim was a minister. Then we observed that he's truly a minister with heart for his residents and heart for the workers. It was past 11 p.m. on a Monday night. After MPS, we were going home, and Minister Lim saw an old lady. She looked really old in the dark. She was bent over her trolley. So he approached her and asked her what she's doing. She says she's collecting cardboard boxes to sell so she can buy fresh fish for her husband who is in his 80s. He immediately asked her, "Where do you live?" And a few of our volunteers pulled up with her. So our volunteers sent food, sent rice to her home. The next thing we know, her son called us and apologized and thanked us for taking care of his mother. He explained that because he works and he doesn't live with her, he actually hired a foreign domestic worker to take care of both his parents. But his mother had dementia, and sometimes she will go out by herself late at night to collect cardboard boxes. By this incident tells me that Minister Lim is very careful to ensure that every case that he encounters is followed up upon. And we are very happy that this old lady actually has a very filial son. Minister Lim listens with his heart and hears the feedback from residents. For example, when he heard that the letter boxes were placed too low and the elderly can't bend to retrieve their letters, he got the agencies to work and brought the letter boxes up. For the private estates at Lucky Heights, Minister also heard the voices of the residents and got the agencies to provide better amenities such as lighting, pathways, and playgrounds. I walk around Bedok quite often, and one day it struck me. Bedok is so clean and so beautiful. There are open spaces with green grass and trees. There are community gardens and exercise stations. There are amenities for the young and for the elderly. Thank you, Minister Lim, for taking care of Bedok residents. My older daughter was not interested in the PAP government. But after 9 months of living overseas and witnessing the referendum and the general elections in the UK, she came back and recently told me, "Mom, don't worry, I'll vote for the PAP." Residents of East Coast GRC, I hope you will also know the character of the people who are standing for election. For the East Coast PAP candidates, you have seen them work with their hands, solve problems with their heads, and listen with their hearts. Vote for the PAP for a good government with a proven track record. Vote for Minister Lim Swee Say and his team. Because we need him as a Minister of Manpower to steer us into the future. We need our workforce to be ready for the future, for our children, and for better life. Thank you.
How about a round of applause for Miss Eunice Chia? Residents of East Coast, why are we here? There is a curtain of blue over the horizon, and as that curtain descends over East Coast, I'm worried for my future. A blue curtain of empty promises. I'm getting married soon and I have no idea what my future will bring with this blue curtain. What we need is a strong government with foresight. We need the People's Action Party, Majulah PAP! Majulah Singapura! To tell us a little bit more about what our future can bring to us, let us invite our next local speaker, Mr. Justin Long. residents and friends of East Coast GRC, good evening. My name is Justin Long, and my dialect group is Hainanese. But today, I will use Hokkien to speak to you. 各位 East Coast GRC 嘅朋友，大家好唔好？我名是龍富爽，我是安南人，但是我係用福建甲大家講幾個話。我今年43歲啊，有兩個囝，我老爸嘛教我做陣徛，細漢時我徛樟葉教過，你人會知樟葉教過哪多咯無？有樟葉教過線啊，無到拍開厝會隔壁對面，我過記得一陣。一落大雨爾，我的厝就淹水。淹水迄陣，我人囡仔上世界的，安怎呢？我人囡仔上會使受水，但是我老爸真可憐的，出來家時，我搬起搬落，搬到面青青。1978年迄陣，政府甲我人講。我人會使徛去 HDB， 我人想 HDB 是啥物來的？我老爸講免緊，相信政府 ，OK， 我人徛 HDB， 我人去徛 HDB， 到今日我徛 HDB 徛到真舒服，當今我徛不到大擺多沙沙。你看，不到這幾年來變化真大真多，有新的連結 bus interchange， 新的 hawker center， 不到 more shopping center，HDB 嘅電梯 upgrading，HIT， 我能夠寫 BIC， 你人會知 BIC 是啥物無 ？BIC 是不到 integrated complex。那邊有啥物？那邊有小水池，有 tennis court， 有 library， 有 polyclinic， 有 CC， 真多物件。4年前，Mr. 李一線答應我人，這個攏做會過啫。伊講伊出做會對，大家講對無？這幾年來，我甲 Mr. Lee 的結果鬥下手，來結果是啥物呢？是 Meet the People Session， 來拜一7點半暗暝，那大擺4空櫃，柬埔寨之協定我。柬埔寨之協定無大無管無大有歲嘅物件 ，Mr. Lee 會盡量幫忙因人嘅問題。我看袂希望嘅人來感謝 Mr. Lee 嘅幫忙，這感覺淚是會買嘅 residents。And friends of East Coast GRC, please touch your heart and vote wisely for your children and for your future. For me, I always believe in PAP because PAP is with you, for you, and for Singapore. Vote for PAP. Majulah PAP! A round of applause for Mr. Justin Long. I see more people are coming in right now, so let's do a roll call. How many people are here from Bedok constituency? And how many here from Singaporean constituency? Now, how many of you are from Kampong Chai Chi? Last but not least, how many of you are from Changi Simei? How many of you are from East Coast GRC Singaporeans? Majulah PAP! Majulah Singapura! And now, our third speaker, speaking in Bahasa Melayu, let us welcome Mr. Muhammad Zaid.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera kepada sekalian para penduduk GRC East Coast. Pada hari ini ingin saya berkongsi sekilas pandang tentang pengorbanan dan sokongan yang telah dilaksanakan oleh pemimpin PAP kita di GRC East Coast. Saya, Muhammad Said Ali, telah menetap di Changi Simei selama 27 tahun. Sejak Changi Simei mula diperkenalkan dalam tahun 1988 dari estate yang belum matang, di mana masa itu belum lagi terdapat banyak kemudahan. Tetapi pada hari ini saya melihat banyak perbezaan yang sangat ketara dari segi infrastrukturnya dan juga berbagai kemudahan dan keindahan di kawasan persekitarannya yang dapat kita lihat dan nikmati. Dengan kecekalan mengatur strategi dari satu tahap ke satu tahap, akhirnya hasil peningkatan itu dapat kita manfaatkan bersama pada hari ini. Sebagai contoh, demi menambahkan lagi kemudahan gaya hidup masyarakat bertenaga, pemimpin PAP kawasan Changi Simei, Puan Jessica Tan Sunyo, telah melakarkan dan melaksanakan satu program, iaitu program pembaharuan kejiranan atau Neighborhood Renewal Program (NRP). Jawatan kuasa NRP telah menghasilkan satu reka bentuk mengikut era permodernan hari ini. Kita juga telah dapat menikmati kemudahan umum seperti peningkatan lift, laluan jalan kaki berbumbung dan laluan bagi orang-orang berkursi roda. Dengan adanya taman senaman bersepadu yang disediakan untuk semua peringkat usia, kita dapat bersenam demi menjaga kesihatan. Salah satu kemudahan yang disediakan untuk penduduk Islam di estate perumahan Changi Simei yang kecil ini ialah dengan keizinan dan sokongan yang berterusan oleh Puan Jessica Tan Sunyo, kita masyarakat Islam di kawasan estate perumahan Changi Simei dan kawasan-kawasan yang berdekatan dapat kita meneruskan untuk bersama-sama bersolat tarawih di bulan Ramadan, bersolat Aidilfitri dan Aidiladha di kolom blok 116 pada setiap tahun. Keperluan ini adalah untuk semua golongan penduduk Islam dari berbagai usia. Terlebih lagi menjadi satu kemudahan bagi para golongan penduduk Islam warga emas atau golongan perintis. Mereka sangat berbesar hati dan berterima kasih dengan sokongan yang diberikan oleh Puan Jessica Tan, kerana kemudahan untuk mereka juga tidak dilupakan. Selain itu, persefahaman dan keharmonian di antara kaum juga sangat-sangat diutamakan. Setiap tahun, sahabat-sahabat kita dari berbagai bangsa dan agama, tua dan muda, akan bersama-sama meraihkan majlis iftar yang diadakan setiap bulan Ramadan. Dengan berbagai pembaharuan dan pemodenan yang telah dicapai di Changi Simei, saya percaya di kawasan estate perumahan bedok yang diketuai oleh Encik Lim Swee Se, di Kampung Chai Chi yang dipimpin oleh Encik Lee Yishen, di Sigap dipimpin oleh pemimpin yang berwibawa Dr. Muhammad Maliki bin Osman, anda juga dapat melihat di mana selama 9 tahun keempat-empat pemimpin PAP kita ini bertungkus lumus bergandeng bahu bekerjasama serta mengorbankan tenaga dan masa mereka untuk memodernkan dan memajukan taraf sekitaran penduduk GRC East Coast ini. Ini semua terjadi kerana para pemimpin PAP kita mendengar semua maklum balas dari para penduduk dan segera bertindak untuk anda semua. Di sini membuktikan kesemua pemimpin PAP tidak membuktikan diri. Mereka berkhidmat dari masyarakat untuk masyarakat. Ini menunjukkan kerjasama yang terjalin di antara pemimpin PAP kita dengan penduduk GRC East Coast sangatlah erat. Dan selain itu juga, keempat-empat pemimpin PAP kita sangat menyayangi dan prihatin terhadap keperluan semua penduduk GRC East Coast. Makanya saya seru kepada semua penduduk di GRC East Coast ini, inilah masanya untuk kita menghargai mereka setelah berapa lama mereka berkorban untuk kita dan negara. Dan hasilnya kini kita mempunyai asas yang kukuh dalam peningkatan pembelajaran anak kita demi menjamin masa depan mereka yang lebih cemerlang. Di sini ingin saya bertanya kepada anda, maukah anda melihat masa depan anak anda lebih terjamin dalam pendidikan pelajaran mereka? Tentu sekali mahu. Maukah anda menikmati suasana persekitaran yang harmonis dan nyaman? Tentu juga mahu. Maukah anda ke semua pemimpin PAP di GRC East Coast senantiasa memberi khidmat kepada anda agar lebih makmur dan dikenali? Pasti mahu. Kita mempunyai para pemimpin dan pemerintah yang jujur, bersih, kuat dan stabil untuk membawa GRC East Coast dan juga negara Singapura demi masa depan yang lebih baik dan dikagumi. Kita juga mahu GRC East Coast dalam 50 tahun mendatang lebih baik dan lebih makmur. Dari itu, saya menggesa bila tiba 11 September nanti, undilah parti PAP. Parti yang boleh anda percayai dan diyakini. Parti yang boleh menjamin masa depan yang lebih baik. Kerana pasukan PAP sentiasa berkhidmat dengan terus, berwibawa dan pemerintah PAP akan selalu bersama anda, untuk anda, demi Singapura. Majulah Singapura. Majulah East Coast. Undilah PAP. Majulah Singapura. Sekian, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih, Encik Syed. And now, our fourth speaker, a young activist from Changi Simei. Put your hands together to welcome Mr. Jeremy Yip.
Dear residents of East Coast GRC, good evening. 大家晚上好. Selamat malam. 大家好. Obo. I'm Jeremy, 27 this year, still single. I've been staying in East Coast GRC for more than half my life. I'm proud to call here home. I'm very thankful for the wonderful changes in terms of my living environment here. And I'd like to say thank you to the PAP for what they have done for us. And during my 3 years with the party, I was able to work with and witness for myself what they have done for the residents here. Today, I'm going to share with you the 5 C's that the PAP of East Coast GRC can provide you with. But this one is not the 5 C's that Singaporeans always talk about. The first C is competency. We have a strong team here. It's clearly demonstrated by the projects and initiatives that the team have put in place over the past years. I will tell you more in a while. The candidates here, they hold important portfolios in different ministries such as M&D, defense, trade, industry, as well as manpower. In fact, we have 3 ministers here with their experience and skills. I believe strongly that we can overcome what lies ahead together. The second C is care. So who cares for you? PAP here cares for you. In fact, some people describe our candidates as care bears. Over the past years, I've seen initiatives and projects emphasizing heavily on the care aspect. For example, in Changi Simei, we have the ECHO program, which provide annual health screening for all residents and educate the residents to take charge of their personal health. And we have free tuition programs put in place for students from the lower income families. So what many residents really want is care, concern, a listening ear, and to help them improve their lives and living environment. And the PAP team here have shown they really care. The third C is community centricity. The PAP has always put the community as their forefront of their thoughts and policies. I'd like to cite 2 examples. In Changi Simei, Ms. Jessica lobbied with SBS to provide a new bus service to facilitate the convenience of children who are studying in primary schools which were not located in Simei itself, and also for residents working in the Changi Business Park and Changi City Point. Without the bus service, the children had to change bus service twice. The fourth C is communication. What I can say is that the candidates have focused a lot on effective interpersonal communications between the residents and themselves. They have conducted many house-to-house visits, dialogues, and chit-chat sessions. I particularly like the fact that government policies are explained effectively to the elderly through dialogues held in different languages. There's this saying, when people realize they are being listened to, they will tell you things. And our PAP team here have heard more than done more. For example, before East Point Mall had a major renovation, residents had feedback to Jessica and the team regarding the need for a place to do their grocery shopping. Jessica lobbied hard with NTUC to have a temporary NTUC during this period, and it's 24 hours. This shows that the PAP takes in feedback from residents and work on them to ensure that their needs are met. So what is the final C? On 11 September, when you enter the polling station and receive your polling card, concentrate and you'll draw your cross correctly at the correct box for the correct party, which is the PAP. And we hope to see you again. Vote PAP. Continue to support PAP for stability and equality for generations to come. All in all, don't just trust words, trust action. Keep calm and vote the People's Action Party on September 11th. For competency, for care, for community sensitivity, for communication, for you, just concentrate and draw the cross for the correct party. Majulah Singapura, Majulah PAP, with you, for East Coast GRC, for Singapore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jerry Ip. And our second last speaker, also a young activist from Kampong Chai Chee. I'll leave it to you to ask if he's still single or available. Put your hands together to welcome Mr. Kenneth Wong.
Dear friends and residents of East Coast GRC, good evening. First and foremost, can I invite all of you to give yourself a round of applause for attending tonight's PAP rally at East Coast GRC. This is the final lap of the 9-day campaign for General Election 2015. It's really my honor to stand here and address to all of you. The questions, am I still single? Yes, I'm still single. Born in the year of 1985, I do not belong to the generation that went through the early phase of nation building, the period where it was filled with great uncertainties, an era that required strong determination to lead through. Singapore will not be where we are today if not for the strong community bonding and the Singapore spirit that we have forged over the years. There's a Chinese saying, 取之社会, 用之社会. The society has provided me with a lot of opportunity for the past 30 years. A lot of assistance have been provided for me. I received bursaries and scholarships to fund my education. Indeed, I'm very thankful to the society that have helped me so much. With all that I've gained, I feel that it is only fair for me to contribute my fair share of contribution to the society that I belong to. Being a volunteer for the past 8 years, it allows me to interact with you and residents, to understand their needs, and to implement projects that actually benefits them. To go fast, go alone, but to go far, go as a team. I'm blessed to have a great team behind me that we meet up regularly to organize and implement projects for Kampong Chai Chee residents. From organizing charity car wash, distributing food pack, as well as to gather youth to come together to mentor children from lower income families, to teach them and to coach them. This is something that truly touches my heart. At the end of the day, why am I doing all this? It is to create a caring and gracious community in Kampong Chai Chee. We started off as strangers, but now we are friends. Seeing all my Kampong Chai Chit families here today, it really touches me and it's really a homecoming feeling for me. Thank you, Kampong Chai Chit! I don't expect my little contribution can make any great impact to the society, but at the very least, I play my part. I don't use words to mesmerize the audience. What PAP is strong about is that sometimes we don't go around and tell people what we are doing. We walk the talk. PAP may not be very fanciful to mesmerize with all your words and to stir up your emotions because we are a rational party. Whatever we do for the good of Singapore and for the children of Singapore. At the end of the day, the Workers' Party can say that I give you this, I give you that. Where you get the money from? There are no free lunch in the world. You give this, you must take from other place. But what they do is because they have this idealistic to create a society that is free for all. But on actual fact, this is the cruel fact of life. Nothing comes free. I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to work with Mr. Lee Shen, and his strong support and dedication to us just encouraged us to do more. I still remember in many occasions, he constantly checked on the welfare of his volunteers to ensure that there are food and drinks allowed and available for the residents and for the volunteers. This actually touches me. Just to share one of the instances, one of the events that our volunteers stayed till about 11 p.m. He turned up on the event site without any prior notice. To him, this is nothing. It may be insignificant, but to the volunteers, it really touches us. Singapore is not a perfect country. Well, personally, I don't think that there is any perfect countries. Every country has its own fair share of problems to tackle. Am I affected by some of the government policy? Yes. But if given a choice to migrate, I can tell you firmly, Singapore is still the place I will stay on. Because there is no place I would rather be, and Singapore will always be a part of me. And even though I roam the world, Singapore is still the home I long to see. This is where my family and my friends grew up with me. And even though I roam the world, I cross the sky, but at the end of the day, there's no place other than Singapore I would rather be. This is precisely because the place that you are standing at, right here, right now, that's our soil. A place that we truly call home. Just look around you. All the things that we have done so far, they don't come naturally. All thanks to our pioneers who have fought hard for us. I have a role to play in building Singapore up, and I can play a role in our community. If I can contribute, why stop? If I can contribute now, why wait? So let us rally together as one people, one nation, one Singapore, and work together for the next 50 years as we celebrate SG 100. Thank you very much.
Our last and final speaker. We've saved the best for last. Put your hands together to welcome from Singapore, Miss Nicole Leong.
Hello, good evening. In all my time volunteering at East Coast JRC, I've never seen such an excited crowd. So happy to see all the support here today. Okay, my name is Nicole Leong. I'm the YP chair at SIGLA, and I've been living in the East Coast JRC my whole life. Loving every moment of it, a caring community, a cozy township, an established estate. Why? Because the PAP cares. We care as much about our beautiful, safe, financially secure East Coast GRC as you do. We have MPs that care about us, about Sigla, Bedok, Kampong Chai Chit, Simei, about Singapore. Our MPs don't just come around once every 5 years. They're here to serve the residents all year, every year. We care about you, the residents. In Singapore alone, we've had 204 house visits, 120 dialogues, and we do all this to be able to listen and to understand what you, the residents, have to say. With that, we found out what needed to be done. You wanted estate upgrading, improvement projects, a new Bedok town centre, and you also communicated to us that you needed us to better connect with the people. We've heard you, and now we have 16 HDB upgrading projects. We've had 139 improvement projects. We have a vibrant, integrated complex at Bedok Centre for the East Coast community. But we don't just upgrade and maintain. The PAP think of new ways to better our East Coast GRC by introducing technology and innovation to the East Coast, such as the Changi Village car park. It's the first automated car park in Singapore. We have also engaged the Eastern Health Alliance to conduct regular home visits for the elderly in the East Coast community because we care about everybody, but particularly the elderly who live alone. From one of our mobile MPS visits, these are visits where the team will go to see the less able in the community. My team and I came across a lovely lady, Madam Wong. She's 80, she lives alone, she has no children, and her husband's in a nursing home. One day, she had a bad fall and broke her hip. There was no one around to help her, but luckily she had a phone nearby and she was able to crawl there and get help. This really resounded with me. That could have been my own grandmother. It could have been any one of our grandmothers. So to make sure this doesn't happen again, we've started piloting fall detectors and activity monitors in several homes of the elderly living alone to make sure that they're alright. Why we do all this? Because the PAP cares for you. The PAP has been and always will be working hard for you, the residents of East Coast. As for me and my YP team, we will always support the PAP and the residents of East Coast GRC. So please give us your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. And let's give a round of applause to all our local speakers. And now, ladies and gentlemen, residents of East Coast, our main event. Let us welcome on stage our candidates for East Coast GRC. And first of all, we welcome our special guest, Mr. Major Abbas, Mr. Lee Yi-Xian, Ms. Jessica Tan, Dr. Muhammad Malik bin Osman, and last but not least, Mr. Lim Swee Seng.
Selamat petang semua. Yang pertama saya ingin dengan segala hormatnya menjemput pemimpin daripada East Coast GRC, Encik Lee Yi-Xian.
请大家以热烈的掌声欢迎我们东海岸集选区的候选人李义贤先生。
Assalamualaikum. Walau saya cara, saya Lee Yi-Xian Abang.
East Coast GRC representing Kampung Chai Chee, Mr. Lee Yi-Xian.
Dear residents, good evening. 大家晚上好. Selamat malam. Welcome to the second rally of the PAP at East Coast GRC. At the first rally, I spoke about my vision of creating a gracious and caring community in Kampong Chai Chee. I described how in the past 4 years I worked closely with our residents to improve the amenities in the community. After the rally, I received an email from Ms. Chiu. She wrote, "You have delivered what you have promised. I personally witnessed a great change in Bedok Town Centre in recent years. Bedok is alive again. Thank you very much." Another resident, Mr. Tan told me at the 208 Hawker Centre, 你有做无做，我人有目睭看。吃了咁甜，我人食到
一起力! I want to thank Ms. Chiu and Mr. Tan and all of you here for your feedback and strong support. Thank you very much. As an MP, I spent many evenings and weekends in Kampong Chai Chee. Working on local issues has always been my priority. I value the trust of my residents. Seeing residents' lives being improved makes me happy. A Chinese proverb says, 同舟共济 makes a lot of sense to me. This proverb describes us staying together on the same boat. We sink or swim together. As a very small boat in a very large ocean, we are more easily tossed up and down. We stabilize this boat by paddling hard and also in sync together. But we also know hard work alone is not sufficient. We also need to navigate to know where we are heading, what dangers lie ahead. We need an experienced captain. We need a competent crew. Many of the suggestions I heard during this period has a common theme. Give money here, provide subsidies there. All very attractive and irresistible. The biggest question, of course, that is not answered, not asked, is where would this free money come from? Mr. Ong, I met at 418 Coffee Shop, gave me this analogy. 真侪人袂高药，后尾讲，伊的高药好；第二个讲，伊的高药愈更好，吃了风湿头痛拢总无；第三个讲，伊的高药上好，吃了挑骨的人会变嗲滴。Mr. Ong advised me， 在这个时代，江湖医生太多了。 我还是回去找我的老医生比较好。For this evening, therefore, I want to focus our attention on choosing a team that not only will look after your local interests, but also steer Singapore into a brighter future responsibly. Because of work, residents, I have traveled to many cities. Many of the developing cities I visited were blessed with large spaces and abundant resources. They have minerals, they have gold, they have diamond, they have oil, they have natural gas, they have fertile land, and also hardworking people. But many of them stood still. In the 60s, some in the 70s, some in the 80s. They are lacking in drinking water, power supply, inaccessible education and healthcare for the masses. Some cities were even crime-ridden and unsafe. I ask myself, with all these resources at their disposal, what happened? Why have they not developed? I also visited many developed cities. Homelessness, ghettos, pickpocketing were common. Large number of young people unable to find jobs. Wages stagnate. Government unable to repay loans. Many of these cities once had their prime days. What happened? What caused their decline? Keeping an economy humming along, therefore, is not a simple task. From America to Europe, with Japan and China in between, many economies are struggling to create enough jobs. At this election, when we discuss local issues, we cannot be oblivious of the useful lessons learned from other economies. Knowing the solution is one thing. In fact, many countries know the solutions. But for various reasons, they do not or cannot have the political consensus to implement the solutions. The late Mr. Lee Kuan Yew once said, underlying all economic problems are political problems. At a recent home visit, I met with Mr. Pang, a sprightly man at 72. When I asked about how he spent his time, Mr. Pang replied me in Cantonese. 以前呢，我喺屋企就好無聊嘅，每個拜三就去賭馬，喺嗰時可以買到新加坡嘅馬，又可以買到南非嘅跑馬。其實呢，賭博係真係唔好嘅，因為每個禮拜三呢，我都會輸到100蚊。不過最近3年來，我開始喺機場做收碗碟嘅工作。So he took on a job to collect dishes at the canteen in the airport. 我好高興啊，因為薪水咧由本來嘅900幾蚊增加到1200蚊。His salary went from $900 to $1,200. 政府每3個月俾我300蚊嘅現金，同埋加上460蚊公積金嘅存款。So under WIS, government will transfer 300 cash to him and 460 in his CPF. So Mr. Pang said, 李先生做工好啊，唔係咧喺屋企真係無聊，成日都想去賭博、買馬、買波，浪費錢又浪費時間。家陣我有時間賺錢，冇時間花錢啊。So in his 3-room flat, Mr. Pang has a family portrait showing his son in graduation gown. Beneath the portrait, I saw a PC notebook with flashing screen. I asked Mr. Pang who was using the computer. So Mr. Pang again told me in Cantonese. He said, whenever I'm free, I follow the stock market and make some money. Mr. Pang's attitude towards life is simply inspiring. He believed that labor is sacred. He believed in life, in self-reliance, and I was just happy to see him enjoying an active lifestyle and independence. But I was most amazed at Mr. Pang's ability to monitor and trade stocks online. He has proven that age is no limit to learning and the mastery of new technology. My vision is for our 3.6 million workers in our workforce to do the same. Not so much to trade stocks online, but to master new skills and technology and to stay relevant to new jobs that will be created. In fact, the skill level of our workforce is the single most important factor that drives our future economy. We must build a brand new culture to help our workers learn and acquire new skills in classrooms and on the job, during the days and after working hours at home. At the last rally, I spoke about Skills Future as a new strategic national initiative to comprehensively address the need of lifelong learning for our workforce. I talked about government investing in $1 billion a year to build up Skills Future infrastructure. But you may ask, Skills Future is a national effort. How does it affect me in the East Coast? My vision is for East Coast to transform into a large learning campus, one in which businesses, large and small, will come together to train our workers. They may work with institutions to customize courses for their workers. They may also conduct courses in-house. My vision is also for all our residents who are motivated to learn to be able to take up courses in community centers or facilities near home. We should also develop online learning platforms for those who learn from home at their convenience. In short, in East Coast, every resident can be a student, and every student is preparing himself for the skills of the future. This is not just a vision. We need to make it happen and happen fast. Some experts predicted that 30% of today's job will be taken over by software, robots, and smart machines by 2025. And this is nearly 10 years later. Can you imagine 1 in 3 jobs that will disappear in 10 years? In fact, some experts even predicted that by 2030, robots will be so smart that they can replace many analytical and repetitive jobs. Just ask ourselves, how many of us are buying things online, booking our tour packages online? In China, you can even order tuition teacher, piano teacher, waiters, and nanny online. This trend is unstoppable, and we have to be prepared for the future. Dear residents, apart from technological advances, our economy will also meet with stronger global competition. Every year, China produces 7 million graduates. India produces 1.5 million engineers. If you were Google, Cisco or Intel looking to site your next investment, headquarters, technical support center, R&D center, where would you locate? Do you want to be near talent base, or do you want to be near a large market? When I met with the mayor of Shanghai a few months ago, he told me they have established a vision for Shanghai to be a global technology and innovation center. Global technology and innovation center. How do they plan to do it? They plan to attract the best companies and best talents to be based in Shanghai. Experts have also suggested that 7 out of the world's 10 largest cities by 2030 will be from Asia. And these large cities will have deep talent pools to tap on. For China and India, all they need is the top 1% of the population to be concentrated in their leading cities to prosper. So for a small and open economy like Singapore, what can we do? We cannot influence the pace of technological innovations. We cannot slow down the pace of economic development of other cities. But I believe the Singapore spirit has always been breaking new frontiers when the odds are stacked against us. We have done it before and we will do it again. To create good jobs, we must have a strong and growing economy. We must do our best to help SMEs and businesses grow. If they don't, they cannot create new jobs and they cannot raise the wages of our workers. Without a growing economy, all fanciful ideas of social transfer, of subsidy, of helping needy families become empty talks. I work very closely with SME, I meet with them regularly, I lead them in overseas trade missions. I understand the difficulties they face. High labor supply, rising costs, falling demand, and uncertain business outlook. When I was in charge in the entrepreneurship movement 5 years, between 2002 and 2006, I must say we have built up a strong and good environment for startup. One magazine says the densest startup ecosystem in the world is in Singapore. My vision for our SME sector is for them to keep on learning and innovating. For the traditional SMEs, I want to help them look out for new ways of doing business. Best practices proven locally or overseas. New ideas from other industries. I believe many of them can create products and services of quality and branding comparable to the best of the world. For the tech startups, I believe we can further enhance Singapore's nurturing environment to attract more startups, incubators, accelerators, seed fundings, venture capital, and to link them up to the rest of the world. New startups will create wealth, will create jobs, and will add sophistication and depth to our economy. Our young people can hope to create ventures of global scale comparable to the best in the world. Dear residents, I have presented to you my vision of Kampong Chai Chee, a caring and gracious community. I have also shared with you my visions for our workforce and SMEs, a vibrant SME sector and a highly skilled workforce. I strongly believe in the potentials of our SMEs and our workers. I have faith in our residents that together we can create a better Kampong Chai Chee and a better East Coast. Just as we have worked together on many improvement projects in Kampong Chai Chee, brick by brick, layer by layer, block by block, precinct by precinct, we shall embark on building our future together. Dear residents, I'm asking you to give us a chance to work with you, for you again. For a better East Coast, for a brighter future, vote PAP, Majulah Singapura!
Terima kasih Encik Lee Shen. Seterusnya, rally ini diserikan lagi dengan ucapan oleh Puan Jessica Tan.
Selvi Jessica Tan
请大家以热烈的掌声欢迎我们东海岸集选区的候选人 Miss Jessica Tan。
Next to Miss Jessica Tan. Please give her a warm welcome.
Hello, East Coast residents, friends and supporters. The last 50 years has not been easy for Singapore, but we've achieved much as a nation with the perseverance of our pioneer generation. As the Chinese saying goes, 创业难，守业更难. As Mr. Lee Shen has outlined, the economy is changing, the world is changing, the pace of things are changing. And therefore, the next 50 years would probably be harder. But at the same time, we do have a future because we have a strong people. When I speak to many of you, you share with me that you worry about the future. SG 100, what do we want? All of us want better lives for our families and better lives and opportunities for our children. So my vision for East Coast as well as for Singapore is for an inclusive Singapore. It doesn't matter whether you live in a rental flat, in your own HDB or a private home. As a father, a mother, a daughter or a son, we all worry about the same things. As parents, we worry for our children. We worry when they're 6 years old and are they going to get a good school? And are they going to be able to cope? We worry of our children graduating and whether they took the right course, whether they'll find the right job. As a son or a daughter, we worry about our parents. As they age, who will take care of them while we're at work? Have we saved enough? Do they have enough? Will we be able to provide for them as they age? So why am I sharing all these? These are concerns that all of us have. And these concerns we need to recognize that policies that worked yesterday may need to be refined for today. Policies for tomorrow may require us to do things differently. I'm glad that the Pioneer Generation package, when we push hard for it, not to be means-tested, the government had the courage to do the right thing. And I must thank them for that, to make that shift. Because the Pioneer Generation package is a recognition for our pioneers and what they've done for Singapore. It would have been very divisive if we had means-tested it. Imagine saying to some pioneers, thank you for what you've done for Singapore in the last 50 years. But sorry, since you can't afford it, you're not eligible. In my rally speech last week, I shared how, as we focus on good policies, we must still listen. We must listen to the ground to hear our people and how those policies land. So when those policies do not land as intended, your voices matter. And we need to work together to refine these policies. Everyone knows that in Singapore, we do means testing for nearly everything. Means testing in itself is not wrong, and it is needed. It is the responsible thing to do to ensure that whatever program that we have is properly funded and that we can continue to afford it. But what we hear from you is that means testing needs to be refined. And we recognize that. Today, we use assessable income and annual value of the home as the criteria. This needs to be calibrated so that it is more inclusive. I'm not saying that we should give something to everyone, as that would not be realistic or affordable in the long run. Rather, we must refine it so that means testing becomes more inclusive, so that those who were excluded, who needed it, are able to access it. As an example, if you don't own a private property, but you live with a family member who has a private property, you cannot get workfare incentive scheme. You cannot get the workfare incentive scheme benefits if you're a low-wage worker. Let me give you another example of one of our residents who has no income but lives with her brother and his family in a HDB flat. Her brother earns a good salary, so she informed me that when she applied for the chair's blue card, she was not eligible because the monthly income per person exceeded the criteria of 1,100. So she said she can't expect her brother to take care of her because he has to take care of his family and his children. With MediSave, the GST vouchers, if you are 65 years and older and you do not own any property but live with your children whose private property is valued above 21,000 per annum, you don't qualify. So we need to look at how to refine such policies so that the benefits for WIS, for the low-wage worker in the example I gave, or chairs for the retired single, and the GST voucher for the senior living with their children may have made a difference for them. This, I believe, would make for a more inclusive Singapore. A Singapore that everyone feels a part of and has a stake in, rather than one that people feel that they're sometimes excluded. So as one resident said to me, we don't want sympathy, but we want empathy. So as we make adjustment policies for the future, we are unlikely to cater for all situations, no matter how wide-reaching these policies are. But sometimes the most unexpected happens, and at other times someone may require assistance and they may not fit into the criteria that was used, whether low wage or perhaps someone who has no family support. But the reality is that help is as much needed for these situations at that point in time. So we need to find a better way to handle these exceptions, to provide a safety net, to make Singapore that safety net for all. And this requires a mindset shift. So instead of looking at every situation and every exception as they come, we can also look at how to handle them collectively. So I'd like to give you an example of how we do that in East Coast. Let me give you the example of the MOE EduSave Merit Bursary Awards. This award recognizes students and encourages them to excel academically. These students are of the top 25% of their cohort in their schools. As it's a bursary award, rightly so, it has an income ceiling criteria. And this is based on household income. But that means that many students who are in the top 25% do not get the recognition. So, 2 years ago, Dr. Maliki, as Mayor of Southeast CDC, together with all the East Coast and Southeast MPs, got together and said, let's raise funds and co-fund an award called the EduSave Merit Awards to recognize our top 25% students in Southeast District, including the East Coast constituencies. And I will tell you that the students who have received these awards, it's not the amount of money, it's much less than the EduSave bursary awards. But guess what? These students feel motivated and they feel good, and they really like the recognition, and their families too. And I think this is about being inclusive. The need to refine these policies, to do things differently, and to cater for exceptions. That's what matters. But it's not changing for the sake of change. It's all about being inclusive and feeling part of. Making us, why is this important? I believe that this will make us a stronger people and a stronger Singapore. And we will have an even better SG 100. So I hope that you will continue to give us your trust to work together for this more inclusive Singapore. We need to move as one to make that mindset shift together. And it's not just about the government doing this. It will require your input and all of us to work together. Take for example, if now something did happen and we had an emergency here, if all of us just ran in all directions, it would cause a mayhem and confusion. But if we all move together, turn in one direction and move out quickly, that would be how we could get everybody safely out of here if we had an emergency. So therefore, as we care with you, for you and for Singapore, as we make these changes, we need to do it together. So vote for all our future. Vote for PAP. Majulah Singapura. 选民们和朋友们，晚上好。不管我们来自什么生活背景，我们都关心着同样的课题，那就是为我们的家人打造一个安定和舒适的生活。我们都知道，政府一向来的政策虽然很好，但我们必须要跟着需求来改进，做出适当的调整。政府推出的新政策，更是需要我们以长远的目标和及时的设施去落实。让我举个例子，教育部每年都会发出无数的补助金，奖励成绩优越的学生，但能有资格获得这项补助金的学生，必须是家庭每月中收入低于6000元，因此许多学生都无法得到奖励。我们得到家长们的反馈，希望孩子们的良好成绩能受到肯定，明确鼓励孩子们继续努力。因此，我们和东南社区理事会在2年前推出了专为这些学生而设的奖励金。奖励金的金额虽然不高，但受到家长和学生们的好评。选民们，让我们一起打造一个更包容的新加坡，一个属于我们的新加坡。请大家继续相信和支持人民行动党，请投我们一票，谢谢。
Terima kasih Puan Jessica. Petang ini diteruskan lagi dan saya ingin menjemput Dr. Muhammad Maliki bin Osman.
请大家以热烈的掌声欢迎我们东海岸集选区的 候选人 Dr. Maliki Osman。
Nanti Selvi Jessica Tan avர்களே அடுத்த பேச்சாளர் ஈசோ ஸ்கூலுடன் யோகனியல் டாக்டர் முகமது மலிகி அவர்களே.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Let's hear Dr. Maliki Mohammed bin Osman.
大家晚上好。Pagi misi home. Selamat malam kepada semua. Allow me to speak in Malay first and then I will continue my speech in English. Kepada para penduduk East Coast, banyak yang sudah kita dengar dari hujah-hujah calon-calon pilihan raya kali ini. Pasukan kami di East Coast berjanji akan bekerjasama dengan pemerintah PAP untuk terus memperbaiki kehidupan masyarakat Melayu kita. Masyarakat Melayu kita telah banyak membuat kemajuan dalam berbagai bidang, sama ada pendidikan, ekonomi dan sebagainya. Bagaimanapun, masih ada yang terus berhadapan dengan cabaran-cabaran sosial. Saya telah melihat semua ini dengan mata kepala saya sendiri selama saya bertugas sebagai penggerak sosial sebelum menjadi anggota parlimen dan sebagai anggota parlimen selama lebih 14 tahun ini. Pemerintah PAP terus menunjukkan keprihatinan kepada keperluan kumpulan berpendapatan rendah ini. Misalnya, hari ini pemerintah telah menyediakan subsidi-subsidi dengan murah hati kepada keluarga yang berpendapatan rendah untuk membolehkan anak-anak mereka memasuki pusat tajakan atau pusat-pusat penjagaan anak-anak dengan hanya yuran bulanan $10 atau kurang, bergantung pada keadaan mereka. Di manakah, di negara manakah akan terdapat pemerintah yang prihatin kepada golongan yang berpendapatan rendah dan menggalakkan anak-anak mereka dijaga oleh orang-orang yang bertauliah dengan harga bulanan $10 atau kurang hanya di Singapura saja. Kerana apa? Kerana kita mempunyai pemerintah yang prihatin terhadap golongan ini. Pemerintah apa itu? Pemerintah PAP yang seringkali prihatin akan keperluan kita. Kami akan pastikan mereka mendapat permulaan yang baik sejak awal lagi. Saya sendiri telah melihat bagaimana anak-anak ini membesar dengan yakin dan baik. Pada masa yang sama, kami menyediakan peluang-peluang untuk ibu bapa mereka memperbaiki keadaan kehidupan mereka juga dengan mengikuti pelatihan dan peningkatan untuk meningkatkan pendapatan mereka. Pokoknya, kami tidak pernah kurang dalam menyediakan peluang-peluang untuk mereka berjaya. Pemerintah PAP terus memberi tumpuan kepada cabaran-cabaran sosial yang dihadapi oleh masyarakat Melayu kita, dan kami telah membuat peningkatan yang baik sejauh ini. Contohnya, kira-kira 10 tahun yang lalu kita telah dibelenggu masalah perkahwinan muda di kalangan pasangan Melayu kita. Bilangan perkahwinan di bawah umur telah turun dari hampir 66,000 pada tahun 2004 kepada hanya 240 saja dalam tahun 2014. Dan dengan program-program sokongan yang kokoh yang disokong pemerintah, kami telah berjaya juga mengurangkan bilangan perceraian Muslim yang melibatkan perkahwinan muda daripada 32% dalam tahun 2004 kepada 21% saja dalam tahun 2014. Ini merupakan satu kebaikan, satu kejayaan kita. Pemerintah juga telah mendengar keprihatinan dan maklum balas yang disuarakan oleh masyarakat Melayu Islam kita. Contohnya, Perdana Menteri baru-baru ini telah mengumumkan bahawa pemerintah akan menyediakan lebih banyak sumber-sumber untuk pelajar-pelajar madrasah bagi pendidikan subjek sekular demi meningkatkan pencapaian mereka dalam peperiksaan tahap nasional.
Pelajar-pelajar madrasah juga meraih manfaat dari dana edusif MOE yang boleh digunakan untuk peningkatan diri. Pada masa yang sama, MUIS telah melancarkan wakaf ilmu pada tahun 2012 untuk dimanfaatkan bagi pendidikan agama sepenuh masa dan separuh masa. Dengan dana awal sebanyak $3 juta dalam tahun 2012, ia kini berkembang kepada hampir $8 juta pada tahun 2014. Tahun lalu, MUIS telah mengagihkan lebih $200,000 kepada 6 madrasah untuk program sokongan para pelajar mereka. Kita juga boleh bangga dengan prestasi yang baik dalam sektor agama. Ramai pelajar madrasah telah berjaya ke institusi pengajian tinggi. Kita berpotensi menjadikan hub intelijensia atau pemikiran agama dengan lebih ramai para ulama kita yang berkelulusan PhD. Misalnya, mufti negara kita, yaitu Ustaz Dr. Fadris Bakar. Kita juga ada Ustaz Dr. Halif Hasan, Ustaz Dr. Nazaruddin Nasir, Ustaz Dr. Muhammad Ali, Ustaz Dr. Fidros Yahya. Dan yang amat membanggakan ialah kelulusan ijazah PhD mereka adalah daripada universiti-universiti unggul daripada United Kingdom. Dalam bidang ketenteraan, SAF sama seperti sektor-sektor lain dalam masyarakat Singapura beroperasi atas dasar meritokrasi. Ia bermakna meletakkan para askar ke bidang pekerjaan dan kenaikan pangkat berdasarkan kebolehan, kelayakan dan keupayaan, dan juga komitmen mereka kepada SAF dan Singapura, tidak kira bangsa atau agama. Para anggota kerahan Melayu kita telah diiktiraf dan dihargai dari tahun ke tahun secara senyap tanpa sebarang sambutan meriah, kerana kemarahan mereka bukanlah atas dasar bangsa mereka, tapi dasar keupayaan mereka. Bersama kita pada malam ini adalah Meja Abbas Abu Amin. Beri tepuan kepada Meja Abbas yang hadir pada malam ini. Beliau adalah mantan anggota Parlimen Melayu kita dan juga antara salah seorang pegawai Melayu SF dalam kumpulan pertama ketika itu. Beliau merupakan inspirasi kepada kita, inspirasi kepada sehingga hari ini ramai di antara anak-anak Melayu kita berjaya mendaki SCF. Hari ini terdapat juga anggota Melayu SCF dalam berbagai jenis bidang seperti komando, perisai atau armor, jurutera pertempuran atau combat engineer, meriam atau artileri, anggota peninjau atau reconnaissance troopers, isyarat atau signal, juruterbang atau pilot, pengendali sistem pertempuran laut atau naval combat systems operators, breaker yang menunjukkan potensi untuk memegang jawatan peringkat tinggi di SDF akan diberi peluang untuk melakukan demikian. Saya ulang sekali lagi, ramai yang bertanya, adakah kita ada anak Melayu dalam komando? Jawabnya, ada. Adakah kita mempunyai anak Melayu dalam artileri? Jawabnya, ada. Adakah kita mempunyai anak Melayu dalam sebagai juruterbang, pilot? Ada tak? Ada. Adakah kita mempunyai anak Melayu dalam sebagai pengendali sistem pertempuran laut atau naval combat system operators? Jawabnya, ada. Apakah ini menunjukkan mereka yang menunjukkan potensi untuk memegang jawatan peringkat tinggi di SCF akan diberi peluang untuk melakukan sedemikian? Kami mempunyai banyak contoh-contoh orang Melayu yang berjabatan tinggi di SCF, termasuk Brigadier General Kerahan Ishak Ismail, CEO Propnex Colonel Kerahan Muhammad Isban Ghafur, yang terus aktif dan komited kepada SCF sebagai anggota kerahan. Orang Melayu juga telah membuat banyak kemajuan dalam RSCF. Contohnya Colonel Zakir, komander bagi kumpulan pengangkutan dalam RSCF, Dan antaranya ialah Kapten Iskandar, seorang juruterbang jet pejuang F5. Jet pejuang F5 ataupun fighter pilot. Kita mempunyai anak Melayu sekarang. Anggota SDF Melayu memainkan berbagai peranan dari segi operasi, perancangan dan latihan dalam berbagai bahagian dalam SDF. Misalnya, Senior Lieutenant Colonel Fahmi berkhidmat sebagai ketua cabang dalam operasi semasa di Markas Tentera GS Ops. Lieutenant Colonel Muhammad Ramizan adalah seorang CEO di BMTC. Lieutenant Colonel Muhammad Jazni adalah seorang CEO di Institut Latihan Waspec. Saya juga telah bertemu dengan Kapten Muhammad Azlan, seorang juruterbang Super Puma di rumah terbuka RSCF di Simei pada bulan September 2014. Mana beliau telah menerbangkan Perdana Menteri sewaktu lawatan PM ke Brunei. Saya juga telah berjumpa dengan First CDO NS Korporal Muhammad Mustafa semasa lawatan saya ke 1 CDP pada Oktober 2013. Di sebalik pangkat dan gelaran, kedua-duanya para anggota kerajaan, anggota sebelum masa dan anggota perkhidmatan negara kita berkhidmat kepada negara dengan semangat yang tidak berbelah bagi, komitmen dan berdedikasi, seiring dengan rakan sejawat mereka dari bangsa lain sebagai suatu kuasa yang hebat. Inilah kekuatan sistem kita. Inilah kekuatan sistem meritokrasi kita. Kesejahteraan dan kepentingan masyarakat Melayu kita amat dekat dengan hati pemerintah PAP. Kerana masyarakat Melayu memainkan peranan yang penting dalam kemajuan Singapura. Sedang kita berusaha untuk terus maju, kami mahu anda semua maju jaya. Sedang anda mahukan anak-anak anda maju dalam apa jua bidang yang mereka pilih, kami juga inginkan yang sama. Jika anda ada kesulitan, pemerintah bersiap sedia sentiasa untuk bekerja dengan anda, bersama anda, untuk kejayaan anda dalam tahun-tahun mendatang. Terima kasih. My dear residents of East Coast GRC, first of all, allow me to thank all of you for being here. You are brave. I'm sure the ground is a little wet. We had showers this afternoon, but we indeed had showers of blessings. The blessings that all of you are here, together as one, with us. Together, we want to build a Singapore of the future, a Singapore for our children and their children. I want to also thank all our residents whom we have met over the last 9 days. They have shared many concerns about high cost of living, not felt by just the lower income, even the middle income. Even those who live in private estates are sharing with us their concerns. In fact, the concerns are not shared only in these last 9 days. We know about them. We are working at them. I even got shouted at. Many of you all know that in one of those 9 days. But we take it in stride, because these are expressions that Singaporeans have. And what do we do as PAP candidates? We listen. We listened with our hearts, not just with our ears. At the same time, we receive many words, much words of encouragement, which heartens me. Personally, I received many words of encouragement from my residents. Some even voiced concern about my losing weight. Mr. and Mrs. Ko I met, old couple. Mr. Ko even said, and he spoke in Mandarin, and I understood. He said that he feels like crying when he saw me losing so much weight. And Mrs. Ko said, "Am I giving you so much headache that you're losing so much weight?" I just told them, don't worry. This is part and parcel of our work. I saw tears in the eyes of Richard, one of my residents, and when I met him, because we went through so much in the last 4 years. I heard so much from residents, seniors, all of you. I want to thank all of you for sharing your concerns with us. I want to talk a little bit about what this election, what are elections about? Elections is about choosing two things. One, your local representative. Two, your government. Let's talk about your local representative. Who is that local representative that you want, and to do what? That local representative that you want to choose must be someone whom you can trust. Someone who's been there for you and with you. The reason why Mr. and Mrs. Cole, Richard, and many others whom we've met over the last 4 years, who come up to us in these 9 days and give us so much words of encouragement, it's because we've built trust with each and every one of you. We've built this strong relationship with each and every one of you. Why is this important? Because it's only with trust and relationship that we can understand your needs, understand your concerns. And it's with this trust and relationship and understanding and appreciation that we can represent you. And not just represent you in Parliament, but represent you in every sector. And what do I mean by that? Garner resources available, as Jessica mentioned. Not just government resources. Resources in our own networks, resources in the community to serve your needs. For you, with you. It's more than just about MPS meeting us once a week. It's more than just writing a letter of appeal for you. It is about ensuring your well-being. It is about ensuring your concerns are addressed. It is about meeting your local challenges, infrastructural challenges, not enough linguists because you're challenged with heavy downpours. Parking problems. I have many private estates that I'm looking after. We see that every day. But we tirelessly try to solve challenges that you face. Your problem is our problem. We will solve it together. And that's the kind of local representative that I think you want, that I think you should select. Not those who just say, we will speak for you in Parliament. What happens after they speak in Parliament? What we will do for you too is want to make sure that we build a future for your children. As your representative, we need to anticipate issues. We need to make sure that we think beyond the here and now. We want to build strong families, because the strong families is the cornerstone of our society. In order to build strong families, we need to build a strong economy, so that every one of us have got good jobs. Every one of us can bring home good incomes to raise good children, provide good environment, good home environment for our children. We want to help families who are broken down. All of us want strong families. But sometimes things happen, divorce happen. It doesn't mean the end of the world. For every divorced family, it's a family to be saved. Every divorced family with children is a family that belongs to all of us too. It's a family that we should try to help with the right safety net. We want to support all of them. We want to make sure that they pick up again and build themselves, harness their potential, harness their children's potential. Much work needs to be done. It's not easy, but we will do it together. We must not allow anyone to be left behind. We must make sure that everyone who faces any challenge comes to us and we work together to help them. As we work towards supporting, help and strengthening families, I think our vision is also to build strong communities. We spoke a lot about the kampung spirit. But what is the kampung spirit? I remember when I was living in the kampung, where every home has no boundary. You can go from one home to another. And every child knows whose parents, and every parent knows which child this belongs to. So I used to play in the longkang when it rains. Whenever my father is about to come back, everybody says, "Your dad is coming home." We quickly run back and just simply pretend to be studying. And that's the whole idea about being in a kampung. We want to build this community. And over the last 4 years, as an example in Sept, I've developed this concept called the micro community, where we know for every block where are the assets and resources. Every block we can harness that resource. Where are the teachers? Where are the retirees? Where are the doctors? Where are the taxi drivers? So when we have an elderly who needs to go to the hospital, we can get the taxi driver to help. If we have someone who has just come home from hospital and need nursing care, we can get nurse to help. That's the kind of community we want to build. That's the kind of community that can only be built if your representative spend every time, every hour knowing the ground, walking the ground, connecting with the ground, talking to the ground, listening to the ground. More than just speaking in Parliament. We will speak for you in Parliament. We will raise your issues in Parliament. But we will do more than that. We will talk to you on the ground. We will listen to you. That's who we are. That's the team in East Coast. The team in East Coast promises never to let anyone not hurt. Never to let anyone go past without being understood. I assure you, my dear residents, the reason why we have been able to build this trust with you is because over the last 4 years, we have not stopped doing so. And one thing that we will work harder is to make sure we continue to strengthen the channels of communication so that the government can clearly explain its policies. Many of the government policies are very complex. You agree with me, correct? Very complex. And we read the newspaper, sometimes we also don't understand. Right? So what do? We try to make it easy. We will go down and meet groups, small groups at a time, and explain those policies to you. And listen to your feedback. This is something that we have been doing and will continue to do extensively. We will continue to extend our outreach and engagement sessions with you. One street at a time, one block at a time, one home at a time, one individual at a time. Laborious as it may be, it is worth every drop of sweat. And I hope we will continue to do more, to serve you with sincerity, touching one life at a time. That's our promise to you. So my dear residents, if that is the kind of representative that you want, then vote for us. Vote for the team in East Coast. Vote for the team that will listen to you, not only with our ears, with our hearts, and with our actions. We will make sure that all your needs are met. We will make sure that no one will be left behind. We will make sure that every resident of East Coast continues to feel important, understood, and appreciated. So vote for us, vote for PAP. Majulah PAP, Majulah Singapura.
Terima kasih Dr. Maliki. Penduduk-penduduk East Coast dan rakyat Singapura mempersilakan Timbalan Perdana Menteri Mr. Taman Shanmugaratnam. Terima kasih semua. Sekarang tibalah masanya untuk Encik Lim Swee Say mampir ke hadapan untuk memberi ucapannya.
请在这里热烈的掌声欢迎林瑞珍部长。
Ada kepekalan. Ambil you Lim Swee Say over there.
Let's all give a warm welcome to Mr. Lim Swee Say.
Good evening, dear residents of East Coast GRC, my brothers and sisters from the NTUC and the affiliated unions, and fellow Singaporeans. Are you good tonight? By the way, that was a sound test, a sound test. And I hope you keep up with your volume this evening. Okay, please allow me to start with Mandarin first. 亲爱的居民们，大家晚上好。我来了东海岸已经4年了，4年半了。过去4年半，我尽全力为您服务。举个例子，当我拜访居民的时候，我发觉到在乌洛，我们有很多这个年长的居民。那这年长的居民里面有一些是单独过活，他的生活是很孤单。有的是身体比较脆弱的年长人士，有的是残缺，有的是贫穷。整体来说，我觉得作为一个邻里，作为家人，是我们的责任，不断的去帮他们赢过更充实的生活，更活跃的生活。另一个就是我发觉到我们的政府很多新的政策，好的政策，可是我们居民很多都不了解，所以我就举办了这个谈天说地在部落，不断的跟居民更紧密的接触，他们关心的课题我也关心，我不懂的课题我去学习，因为最终我要尽量的帮他们了解他们所关心的课题，这么的话我相信他们就能够过更安心的生活。在过去的4年半，我在部落的那个跟居民的沟通，感觉很好，感觉很好。那么最近一个居民跟我说，他说林部长，你的人很好，我说我的人好，我说你们的人更好。昨天晚上我的居民说，林部长，这次一定要赢，因为我们不能没有你。我说你们不能没有我，我更加不能没有你。不过我承认，我不是个完美的人，我也有我的缺点，我也有犯我的错误。那么举个例子，虽然我的心地是善良的，可是偶尔会祸从口出。那么第一个群众大会，我提到我很庆幸我是新加坡人，拼啊！可是我无意中给一些人发觉这个误解，他们以为我看不起马来西亚人，看不起中国人。 我在此要重申，我绝对没有恶意，我绝对没有贬低任何其他国家的这意图，而是我是身为新加坡人而感到自豪。所以那些被我冒犯的人，我深感抱歉。这次的大选非常的激烈，哪个政党会带领我们的国家？哪个团队会照顾东海岸集选区？到目前为止还是一个未知数。我没有博士的学历，我也没有牛津大学的学历，不过我有的是一颗敬爱国家、关怀人民的爱心。所以我希望大家支持我，让我继续能够关照你们、你们的家人和你们的家园。今天晚上我要跟你们分享一个我的感想。我的感想是，这个世界上的国家好多好多，可是做得好的好少。为什么呢？做得好的其实就两个字了。为什么做得好？那两个字是团结，团结。因为他们是个团结的国家，他们有能干、有才干的领导，所以他们想得到，是想得到。因为他们团结，人民上下一心，互相带动，所以凡事都是事半功倍。所以他们不但只想得到，而且做得快。更重要的是，举国上下人民政府之间互相信任，因此他们能够与时俱进，不断的适应新的环境。也就是说，不断想得到，做得快，而且变得通。要做到一个好的国家，我觉得非常重要，因为只有做得好的国家，人民才有好的生活过。很可惜的是，做得好的国家是少之又少，太少了。为什么很多国家会做不好呢？也是两个字：分裂。人民分裂，国会分裂，有些政府本身也分裂，因为它是由不同党派所组成的。在这些分裂的国家里面，大家都很忙，大家都很累，可是他们不是为他们的国民而忙，他不是为他们国家而累，他们忙和累是因为整天在搞政治，整天搞政治。那些受到人民欢迎的政策，反对党就说不够多，为什么呢？搞政治。那些不被人民欢迎的政策，他们说太多了，少一点比较好，没有啊更好。为什么呢？他搞政治。所以政治家在分裂的国家里面，政治家有的是小聪明，可是人民要付出的是大的代价。你觉得值得吗？不值得。应该吗？很可惜的是，这样的国家太多了，太多了。每届的大选都是很重要，不过这次的大选是特别的重要。为什么呢？因为这次的大选会决定我们国家未来5年的发展，而且为未来的15年定下基础，为我们未来的发展 定下方向，从那时候培养我们第4代的领导班子。因此，我希望投票那一天，我希望我们东海岸的选民们能够冷静的投下神圣的一票。希望我们能够一起不断的团结，不断的让新加坡永远是一个为人民做得好的国家。希望我们未来的50年会比过去的50年来得更好。行进吧，新加坡！Dear fellow Singaporeans, over the last 9 days, we have heard many speeches. I think by now, if you are not confused, I am confused. So tonight, I like to keep my message very simple, very simple. Basically, in any election, when the voters, when you cast your votes, many of you are looking for change. Of course, right? We all want the next 5 years to be better than the last 5 years. So we are looking for change. Changes that will make our life better in the next 5 years. However, I want to share this with you. It's my observation. After 19 years in politics, is that when a political party champion any change, they may do so for at least 2 reasons, 2 different reasons. The first type is that they want change because they want to have good policies, better policies to improve your life. This is one type of change. Another type of change that they are advocating is to pursue good politics to win your votes. So good policy is to improve your life. Good politics is to win your vote. So therefore, I hope when you cast your vote, think carefully. Do you want to vote for the party that pursue good policies to improve your life? Yes or no? Or do you want to vote for the party that pursue good politics just to win your votes? Yes or no? Let me give you some illustration rather than to just be theoretical about this. Take for example, CPF withdrawal age. You know, we have CPF system. Took us many years to set up. In fact, many countries, they wish they have a CPF system set up 30 years or 50 years ago. Our system set up for only 4 purposes, very clear. That you save, your employer help you to save, government help you to save. For 4 purposes: housing, education, healthcare, and retirement. Only 4 purposes. Of the 4, you can withdraw your money for education, for healthcare, for housing, as and when needed. But for retirement, obviously, right, you must try to keep it for retirement, right? Otherwise, it's not called retirement, right? So today, our CPF, the withdrawal age, is 64. So in this general election, Workers' Party say 64 too long to wait. So they propose 60. 60. The SBA said that 60 better than 64. Still too long to wait. So they propose what? 55. So it's like doing the what? Limbo drop, is it? The lower, the better. But let me ask you, for the good of your retirement, you think that lowering this withdrawal age to 60 to 65, is it a good policy? It is not a good policy. Then why do you think that workers' parties, SDA, why do they push for this? Exactly. Because this is good politics. What do they want? Are they worried about retirement? So what are they worried about? Your votes. I give you another example. Foreign manpower policy. PAP governments, we give all the feedback, review our policy. DPM Taiman, Finance Minister, February 2010, announced in the Parliament that we are now switching from a higher manpower growth to a lower manpower growth. And our policy intent, commitment, is to maintain the ratio of local manpower to foreign manpower to 2 to 1. So 2/3 local manpower, 1/3 foreign manpower. And along that line, we've been tightening on this growth of the foreign manpower. So take for example EP and SPAS, the drop in the increase, the growth rate, the drop in the last 5 years. In fact, from the peak to last year, it dropped by 70%. 70%. At the same time, if you take the work permit, the EP, the SPAS, all put together, in the last 5 years, it dropped from a peak of 80,000 a year, the increase of 80,000 a year, to now only 30,000 a year. So this is how significant this drop is. Now, when this policy was discussed in the Parliament, tightening our foreign manpower, slowing it down, at first, Workers' Party, they say this is not good enough. Slowing down, tightening is not good enough. So what do? They push for change. They say we must freeze. Zero increase. Freeze. Of course, let me ask you, if we have gone for this freezing of foreign manpower, is it a good policy? If we had listened to them, go for good politics, go for freeze, I think many SME today would have done. And many workers employed by the SME, their jobs will die too. And we take this very seriously. Your SME accounts for 70% of the employment in Singapore. 7 out of 10 workers work in SME. Now, after 3 years of implementation, they realize that actually this tightening is already quite painful for SME. As I mentioned earlier, from 80,000 to 30,000. It's already quite painful for the SME. So now instead of admitting that dear SME, we Workers' Party, we were wrong, because today we are very painful. If the government had adopted our proposal to freeze the foreign manpower, today it will be even more painful. So instead of apologizing, instead of admitting that the proposal is wrong, you know what they say now? They say the reason why SME today are suffering is because of PAP. Because PAP U-turn. Since when do we U-turn? Now, basically, it's easy for any party to go to Parliament to push for good politics. Doesn't care about what is the implication on the ground. Sounded very good, freezing foreign manpower. But when it turns out that they were wrong, you know what they say or not? Instead of saying that I'm wrong, they say, not me, go white tai chi. So let me ask you, is this good policy or is this good politics? PAP, we also push for change. People think that to achieve change you must vote for opposition. It's not true. When you vote for PAP, you get even more changes coming your way. I give you some example. Low-wage worker. In Bedok, a few years ago, I went for house visit. I came to a house, I think it's a 2-room apartment. Inside, complete darkness. So I thought nobody at home. So we knocked at the door. A lady came up. So I said, hello, Madam so-and-so. I said, how are you? She said, good. I said, oh, why is your house so dark? He said, oh, I'm trying to save energy. Save energy. So why? As we went on, I discovered she works as a cleaner in a school nearby. I won't mention the name of the school. I said, how much are you earning a month? $830. I said, oh, is that enough? He said, not enough. Because she should take care of her mother who's staying with her. So, for the live in darkness, save utility. So I said, look, how about this? We have NQC for E2I. I said, why don't? I said, why don't you come to E2I? I said, why don't you come to E2I? I help you to get better paying job. He said, oh, Mr. Lim, thank you, but no thanks. I said, why? He said, but because the school is just nearby. Easy for me to walk to school and walk home. For 2 reasons. First, I save on transportation costs. But more importantly, my mother is not young anymore. So when something happens, I can rush home. So, how do we address this are issue faced by the lowest workers? One way is to implement minimum wage. Every party talk about minimum wage in this GE. It's very easy for the NQC, for the tripartite partners with the MOM, very easy for us to just implement, just announce minimum wage. Once you announce minimum wage, then you can have the excuse, just like in many countries, they have the excuse that, look, I'm already taking care of my lowest workers. I've already declared a minimum wage. But we all know, we're studying minimum wage for more than 20 years. The NQC will publish a paper on why minimum wage is not the solution. You set the minimum wage too high, $2,000 per month. I can assure you many workers, lowest workers, will lose their job. Especially the older workers, not the lower skilled workers. If you set the minimum wage at $1,000 per month, which is what the Workers' Party is proposing, in my view, it's too low. It's too low. Yeah, because once you set a minimum wage, that minimum wage very often, as seen in many countries, will become the maximum wage. Employer will say, look, I already pay you the minimum wage, which is legal by law. Why do we pay you more? So minimum wage will become maximum wage. But most of all, look at many other countries, how often they can adjust their minimum wage upwards. Very difficult, very sticky. Yeah, because it takes a lot of effort to convince everybody. When you raise every $100, every $200, the workers, the union will say, not enough. The employer said, too much. Yeah, so the government don't know what to do. So what they do? They go for general election. Then they say, okay, move a little bit because then keep the union happy, keep the voters happy. But you want to adjust your minimum wage once every 5 years? I think no. I don't think that solves any problem. So what do we do in Singapore? First, you work fair income supplement. We say, look, you are lowest workers because you put in your efforts, right? We complement your income. And we use the WIS. Some money in cash, some go to CPF to help you save for your retirement. So for example, somebody earning $1,000 per month can receive up to $3,500 a year in WIS, equivalent to 3.5 months of salary. So this lady, this resident I talked about, earning $830 a couple of years ago, today I'm happy to say that working in the same school, doing the same job, her salary has gone up to $1,050. $100 came from our progressive wage model, minimum wage $1,000. $50 thanks to the NWC recommendation. So today she has $1,050 and it's still upside for her. But more importantly, PWM is not just about having a minimum wage of $1,000 for the cleaner. It's a ladder. You do indoor cleaning, starting pay $1,000. Outdoor cleaning, $1,002. Machine operators, $1,004. A team leader, a supervisor, $1,006. This is the reason why we don't go for minimum wage. We go for progressive wage. Why? Because low wage workers deserve to have wage progression as well, just like you and I. The same is not happening to the security sector. The tripartite works together, they reach agreement. So the security sector next year will come on a progressive wage. Same thing applies to landscaping. Now another example. So to me, is this a good policy or not? Progressive wage. Another example I share with you is the water supply. Water supply. An old way of water supply to increase water supply. Let's say you have 1 drop of water today, and in the future you need to have 4 drops. From 1 drop to 4 drops. How to get from 1 drop to 4 drops? This is a kindergarten school examination question. Why? From 1 to get to 4, very simple. 1 plus 3 equal to 4. Your pass. So that is the old way. Except that in the case of water supply, the plus 3 will come from what? Come from desalination, turning seawater to clean water. Very expensive because of salt content in the seawater. So we crack. PAP government goes for change. 1 plus 3 equal to 4 is not viable, not sustainable. So we went for change. What did we do? We changed the 1 plus 4, 1 plus 3 equal to 4 to a different formula. 1 plus 1 equal to how much? How many? 2. 2 times 2? See? 1 plus 3 equal to 4. But 1 plus 1 multiplied by 2 also equals to 4. The plus 1, desalination water. Very expensive. The times 2, new water. Every drop of water uses 2 times. Yeah, that's how we solve problems that other countries cannot solve. Is it change? Good policy or not? Women. Very often women have to choose between family and career. And we are trying very hard, tripartite partners, to help support the women so that they don't have to. They can have both family and career. And to do so, we need to have support from firstly the family. The husband cannot play golf on Sunday. Right? So stay at home, take care, support the wife. Secondly, the employers must introduce flexible work arrangement. Flexi workload, flexi hour, flexi location. Thirdly, community must play a part too. For example, provide good health childcare facility in the community. Make it easier for the young parents. Last but not least, government must play a part too. So for example, our marriage and parenthood packages, for example. Because of all these efforts put in by the family, by the community, by the employer and the government, here in Singapore, in the last 5 years, from 2009 to 2014, the number of female in employment went up from 800,000 to 940,000, an increase of 140,000 in 5 years. Let me ask you, is that good policy? This is the general election. Worker parties came up. You see, the best way, or one best way to grow our workforce is to get more women to come back to work. So when I hear that, I said, it is a good idea, except that they are at least 5 years too late. But why do they say that? I'm very sure they know that we've been promoting this back to work women for many years. Why is it that we until now to talk about this? Why? Good politics. Mature workers, retirement age is always very sticky in any country. Same for Singapore. So we try to raise the retirement age from 62 to a higher age. Couldn't get it going. Union pushed very hard. Employer resisted very hard. Deadlock. We couldn't solve it. So it happened that one year, I was in Japan together with the President NQC John Bibeva to attend the Japanese Union Convention. During the 3 days there, we decided, we saw a face at the convention to give face to the host. But we told the host very frankly, we said that it would be very helpful for us if we can help to introduce us to some companies that have been employing older workers in what they call the re-employment concept. So we spent the 3 days visiting companies, talk to the union, talk to the employer, and we were very convinced that re-employment is the way to go. So we brought the concept of re-employment to Singapore. And as a result, we were able to raise the re-employment from 62 to 65, and as PM mentioned, by 2017 to 67. And because of this re-employment, many mature workers, in fact more than 90%, were re-employed upon reaching 62, 63, 64 and so on. In the last 5 years, from 2009 to 2014, among Singaporeans older than 60 years old, the number of people in employment went up from 145,000 to 260,000, an increase of 115,000 in 5 years. Is re-employment a good policy? I agree with you. But this time round, Worker Party again proposed that one good way to grow our employment is to help more mature people to come back to work. Good idea, but 5 years too late. Why? Why say it after 5 years too late? Good politics. Employability. For a long time, or rather a long time ago, we didn't have S&P payroll. So when workers go for training, they can claim cost-free subsidies, but the employers have to pay for the absentee payroll. What we did was to say, look, this is not good because many workers, after working for 20 years, they will still not be upgraded from unskilled workers to become skilled workers. So NTUC came up with this idea called skill redevelopment. Retrain all these low-skilled workers, send them for skill certification, so that when they leave the company, they have a certificate, a skill certificate to go with them. So we send all these older people for retraining, and we supported them with the absentee payroll. Then after that, we went to visit them. So I remember I talked to a group of trainees. I said, how is the training? He said, very tiring. I said, why so tiring? He said, all the textbook, the words are too small. Then I talked to the course provider. I said, hey, these are uncle auntie. Can you enlarge the font? Then I went to a course for our UE, electronic union workers. Some of them been working in this electronic union factories for many years. So they went for training, so I thought it would be very easy for them. Again, I went to ask them, I said, how is things very difficult? I said, why? He said, here, they asked us to do integration, differentiation. So I said, oh, you never, he said, no, in the factory we don't do that. In the factory, we deal with a capacitor, resistor. We can read the instruction, we know what's the AND gate, NOR gate, NAND gate, NAND gate. But differentiation, integration, they're vocular. So but my point to you here is this, is that the PAP government, together with tripartite partners, we keep changing. When we realize there's a need to change, we change. And today, training is a norm. Skills certification is a norm, WSQ. Costly subsidy is not. Right? So therefore, if you want our employment system to get better and better, to keep changing, who do you vote? Dear fellow Singaporeans, I need to take good and better care of our people with no choice but to keep changing. Because the world never stops changing, so we have no choice but to keep changing. But from those illustrations I share with you, I think you agree with me that it's easy to make changes, but very difficult to make the good changes the right changes. And how to do this year after year, decade after decade? Keep thinking of good ideas, right ideas to keep changing for the better. It's not easy, you know. So what keeps us going? Why keep this PAP government going? It's because the driving force for all the change did not just come from our head, but to think about water problem, training problem, and so on. But actually the driving force came from our heart, because we care for the workers of Singapore, we care for the people of Singapore. We've come this far in 50 years. We must now create a better LG50 for our children, our grandchildren. Along the way, we will overcome many more challenges. Some of these challenges is completely new to us. We've never come across them in the last 50 years. For example, our Singaporean workforce one day will stop growing in the near future. Our Singaporean population one day will stop growing in the near future. And one day will become one of the most Asian, if not among the most Asian in the world, again in the not too distant future. If we focus on right policy, good policy, I believe we can get it right. We can keep growing our economy so that Singapore can remain Singapore unlimited. Better jobs, better career for our people. At the same time, if we focus on good policy, we can make sure that our society, our community, our people will remain Singapore united. In fact, this is the reason why I'm so thankful that I'm a Singaporean. Because Singapore indeed is a Singapore unlimited economy and Singapore united people. But if we evolve towards playing politics in Singapore, the whole parliament, like what I said earlier in Mandarin, they are always engaged in politicking. I think we are going to get it very wrong. SG 100 is not going to be better than SG 50. In fact, if we get it wrong, engage in politics rather than good policy, the cost of living in SG 50 will be very low because nobody can afford to buy anything. The standard of living will also be low. In fact, life will be even more stressful than today. You may wonder why. Today we work so hard, we run so fast, life is very stressful. But let me share this with you. The stress of success is a lot less than the stress of failure. I went to France. I talked to the union leaders there. They told me the people who are unemployed, they live a lot more stressful life than those who are working. Yeah, so therefore, don't think that by slowing down will be better. In fact, we're going to have more stress. The government and parliament elected on September 11, in fact, will have very heavy responsibility. If they will change this parliament, this government, to be elected on 11 September, I believe they will change our life over the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 15 years. That's for sure. They will change our life. The question is, will they change our life for the better or for worse? I think that is the question you have to ask yourself. You will decide who are the 89 elected MPs in the parliament after September 11. and from which the government, the cabinet will be formed. And this cabinet, this government will then lead us, serve us for the next 5 years. My hope is that whichever party, whichever candidates who are voted in, I hope they understand the responsibility that they have to the people of Singapore. I hope that the team to be formed will be a strong team with people with not just strong head, but more importantly, strong heart, who are clean, who are caring, who are competent, who are capable, but most of all, people who are committed to serve our people, our nation, with integrity and honor. I may not have a PhD or a Oxford grade, but what I have is a Singapore heart. So it's been my privilege to serve our workers and our people for the last 19 years. For me, the interests of people must always be at the heart of everything I do, everything we do. So please support me and my team. Give us a privilege of serving you for another term. Dear voters, with 52 years, there are another 52 years out there waiting for us to create together. Vote PAP! Maju Singapura!
Terima kasih Encik Lim, saudara-saudari rakyat Singapura. Kami mempersediakan Encik Tharman Shanmugaratnam, Timbalan Perdana Menteri dan Menteri Keuangan Singapura.
请大家以热烈的掌声欢迎副总理。
Menteri Lim, dari siap bicara, nama tulis pada Cilu Tharman Shanmugaratnam Abdulai.
Let's give an extra warm East Coast welcome to Mr. Tharman Shanmugaratnam.
Salam sejahtera dan selamat malam saya ucapkan kepada rakan-rakan senegara dan hadirin yang saya hormati. Singapura kelima kali periode non-partisan berlangsung. 各位同胞、朋友，大家晚上好。Fellow citizens and friends, first, let me salute Mr. Lim Swee Say for what he's been doing, not just here in East Coast, but for Singapore. Swee Say spoke about change. He spoke about how our society is changing, how our government is changing, and how we must all change. And before I go on, I want to tell you from my experience in the last 14 years in politics, together with Swee Say, both in his roles in NTUC, as Secretary General and as a Minister, that he has been at the vanguard, at the front line of change for a better society. And it has been my privilege to work closely with Swee Say in my various capacities as Education Minister, Finance Minister, and in helping to coordinate our social policies. It has been my privilege to learn from him, to discuss things with him, to argue with him, and to finally agree on things with him, together with PM
and our cabinet colleagues. Thank you, Sise. We are changing in fundamental ways. First, we are rebalancing between economic and social policies. No matter how successful our economy is, a successful economy by itself will not give us an inclusive and fair society. Economic policy has to go together with active social policies to help those who start with less, to help our mid-career Singaporeans, including our PMEs, and to help older Singaporeans to age with grace and dignity. And it is this combination of economic and social policies that we are forging in Singapore today. We're not starting now. We started 10 years ago. Step by step, we are building a more fair and a more equitable society. That's the first major shift, and I'll talk a little more about this later. This rebalancing between the economic and the social. The second important shift is in the way we develop ourselves as Singaporeans, how we look at each new generation and how we develop ourselves through life. We can no longer develop Singaporeans and no longer advance as a society by merely focusing on schools, on how well we do when we are young. Many years ago we used to think that how well you do in life depends on what you're born with and how hard you work in school and the grades you got in school. O-levels, N-levels, sometimes you progress to A-levels, poly. A few people went to university. The grades you got when you were young shaped a lot of what happened in life. Our views have changed, our beliefs have changed, and the situation has changed. We now need to develop every Singaporean throughout life, starting much earlier than the school years, much earlier, before they get to school, but also well after the school years, continuously. No society has done this well, but we must do this. We must do this for our future. We don't have many Singaporeans. Every Singaporean counts. Discovering everyone's potential, everyone's strength, and developing it through life. Discovering new strengths as you go through life, when you get second chances and third chances. This too is a very important shift, so that our society and our meritocracy is not based on what happens during your school years, but how you perform in life, how you discover yourself in life, how you work as a team through life. This too is a very important shift. And we have a journey ahead of us in achieving this shift. A third shift, which is very important, is how government has changed. It used to be a top-down government, often quite heavy-handed. You know what I mean. It is no longer that way, because we have changed, Singapore has changed, and we have changed so that we can continue to lead Singapore for a better future. Strong leadership today is different from strong leadership 20 or 30 years ago. Strong leadership means listening, actively engaging, changing your mind when the situation changes or when you get better ideas from others, continually adapting, but leading all along the way. Strong leadership is listening, engaging, moving with people, but also moving people with you to a better future. It's a very different style of leadership. So we say, each week, how often are you on the ground? How many times a week? Do you have any days off? Suisse is exceptional. I know because he often chabots from cabinet meeting early because he has to be in East Coast. I spend 4 or 5 days a week with residents of one form, one type or another, one problem or another, different groups. And it's a tremendous learning experience. Tremendous learning experience. We have changed. This is the way forward. A rebalancing of economy and society, maximizing everyone's potential through life, not determining your life's chances when you're young. Making sure that in Singapore, birth is never destiny. What happens in life doesn't depend on who you were born to. That is a true meritocracy. A true meritocracy is when birth is not destiny. The birth is just the start of a journey through life where you keep developing. And finally, moving from top-down government to a government that listens, engages, and leads. These are the shifts that we have begun, starting a decade ago especially, picking up pace, and we need your support to continue in this direction for everyone's good. We have a lot more to do. We have a lot more to do. We face the same challenges that most of the developed societies face. Some things are special to Singapore, but most of our challenges are the same as what most developed societies face. How to keep social mobility going. How to reduce inequalities whilst ensuring that everyone puts in their fair share and puts in full effort. How to ensure that people in the middle of their careers are treated fairly, are given a full chance to advance. How to make sure that the elderly in a society that is getting much older are treated with dignity and have fulfilling lives. All societies face these same challenges, but we start from a position of strength because we are a united society. We have the resources, we don't have the crippling economic problems many countries have, and we have a government that is listening to the people, adjusting policies, and finding the best way forward. But these are important challenges, and we are not done. We are not done on any of them. Social mobility has to be the start. That has to be part of our identity as Singaporeans, that no matter who you're born to, what type of HDB home you have, who your parents are, what education they had, what jobs they do, no matter who you're born to, what type of background you have, you can advance in life, you can discover something in yourself, you can do well, and you can contribute to Singapore. But we have to do more to achieve this in future. Meritocracy alone will not produce social mobility. It's a fair system, but it is not enough. We have to intervene early in life, find every way of helping kids when they are young, even before they go to kindergarten and childcare. Find every way, help the parents, help the children, through government action, but through community action as well. Experiment, find the best ways, but do it with energy and passion. We're doing a lot more in our schools, in our preschools. First, preschool is much more affordable now. Our low-income group pays $3 to $5 a month for full-day childcare. But it's not just the affordability. Quality is critical. We have vastly improved the quality of the preschool sector. But we're not fully done yet. There's a lot more to do. A lot more to do to make sure that the kids who come from low-income backgrounds, and especially if their parents haven't had a good education, that the kids have equal chance. Because in the preschool they go to, they've got good teachers, nurturing teachers, empathetic teachers. There's more to be achieved. And then when they go into primary school, our learning support programs, our specialists, we now have a lot more specialists in our primary schools, which is why we're spending a lot more on our weaker pupils. Specialists in different learning difficulties, specialists in early primary school education. In fact, we just started recently a new program in NIE, Advanced Diploma for the early primary years. Specialist diploma, because teaching kids in the early primary years is very different from teaching them in primary 5 and primary 6, let alone secondary school. So, many experiments, many efforts, but we've got to raise the quality of our bringing for every child, including especially those who start with less. Then what happens when people enter the workforce? We have to do more to help the poor. Do more to reduce inequalities. Not just by saying things that sound right politically, but doing things that can work on a sustainable basis and really improve people's lives. We are quite unusual because our lower income households have seen a significant improvement in incomes in the last 5 years. Unusual amongst the countries that are in the same league as us. Hong Kong, Taiwan, of course Europe, Japan, the US, where there's been a decline in living standards. We've seen a significant improvement in the last 5 years. But there is a group at the very bottom, within the bottom 5%. In fact, we have 50,000 Singaporeans working full-time with less than $1,000 a month. It's about 3% of our resident workforce. Doesn't sound like a high percentage, but 50,000 is a big number. And we all know them. In all our constituencies, we meet them, we know them. We've got to do more to help them. How are we doing it? Swisay's progressive wage model, starting with cleaners, security guards, moving on to landscape workers, those who do the gardening and tend to our parks. That's one very important way. It's working well. And starting from 1st September this year, the cleaners, all cleaners, will have to be paid a minimum of $1,050, but with a progressive ladder on top of it. That's one way. But there's also, besides the progressive wage model, which is targeted at those sectors where there's cheap sourcing, don't forget workfare, which is a major innovation and which is the real alternative to the minimum wage in Singapore. Workfare is adding significantly to wages. For someone with $1,000 a month, most of them, if they're working full-time, are getting $150 to $250 extra every month through workfare. Those who are older get $250 to $300. They're paid quarterly, but that's what it amounts to every month. Very significant increase. Workfare. Workfare, progressive wage model, skills upgrading, and making sure that there are jobs always available for Singaporeans. That's how we uplift everyone. And if we fail after some years, if we find that things are getting stuck, then we have to consider every alternative, whether it's a minimum wage or any other solution. But it is succeeding. Our approaches are succeeding, and very importantly, they're succeeding without losing jobs for older, low-skilled workers, because they are the ones who will be most vulnerable. If we go for a simple minimum wage strategy, they're the ones who are the most vulnerable. Our older, low-skilled workers who did not have the advantages of subsequent generations. They had little education, they were stuck in simple, low-paid jobs for most of their careers. They are the most vulnerable. By using workfare, where the government pays them on top of what the employer pays, by using the progressive wage model, worked out on a tripartite basis, we've made sure they don't lose their jobs. How much does it amount to? When you add up the different things we do, a very significant government intervention. I spoke at a recent rally about how for every $1 of tax that the low-income group pays, those who are in the bottom 10%, every $1 of tax they pay, they get $6 back in subsidies. What I didn't say then is how different it is today compared to just 10 years ago. That's $6 back for every $1 of tax they pay. $6 back through subsidized childcare, healthcare, workfare, all the subsidies. That $6 back is almost double what it was 10 years ago. Major shift. Major shift. Then what do we do about savings and retirement? Very important. It's not just that people are growing up and their working years, but how do we ensure that those who are poorer have a good retirement? We've increased our healthcare subsidies, and I'm not just talking about the pioneer generation, which is a special generation. On a permanent basis, we've increased our healthcare subsidies. But a critical improvement was what we have done to add to the savings of lower income Singaporeans through the CPF system. First, 2008, we increased CPF interest rates, extra interest. So today, more than half of CPF members get 3.5% on the ordinary account, 5% on the special account. But that's not all. That's not all. We also give a housing grant, and we also add part of your workfare into your savings, which earns the same interest. And when you add in all the subsidies we give through the CPF, the low-income worker today, based on our latest policies, will earn 6.5% on his ordinary account throughout his working life. 6.5%. Major subsidy. And after retirement, after 65, 6% interest rate. All this without them having to take any investment risk by investing on their own. It's guaranteed. They are assured that not only their money is safe, but the interest will be paid. Because this is a AAA government. The CPF system is not perfect. It is not perfect, and we're always looking to improve it. But it avoids two big problems. First, the problems of social security systems in many other countries, especially the advanced countries, which are simply unsustainable. Unsustainable sounds like it's a financial concept. It's not just a financial concept. It is about the big burden that's going to be placed on the next generation. An inequitable burden. Because ordinary working people are going to have to pay more in future for social security, but get less benefits than today. It's as simple as that. They're going to have to pay much more in future, but get less benefits than today. Totally inequitable. We don't have that problem. Second, it is also fair. Because the systems in the rest of the world that are sustainable are systems where each person has to invest on their own. they choose their investments, and unfortunately, in the United States, in Europe and Britain, everywhere where they've tried it, ordinary people are unable to make decent investment returns. They go in at the wrong time, they come out at the wrong time, they lose money, they pay high fees. It's been a real tragedy. I've been studying this for some years. It's a real tragedy. To force them to take risk in order to earn returns, they end up not earning good returns, but they pay high fees. What we will do, we are using the government budget to add to the savings of ordinary people. Those who are better off, we have to improve the system. To help them to take some risk in the CPF system more easily, more conveniently, at low cost. There's a CPF-IS system, but it's a bit unwieldy. There are too many choices. The CPF panel is now studying how we can simplify and give them easy options to take somewhat more risk, invest long-term in the hope of getting better returns. That way, we have a fair system, but also a sustainable system. So it's not a perfect system. We have to keep improving it, but it's avoided the big tragedies that we see internationally in social security systems. So that's about savings. Starting from young, through working life, and into the retirement years. We've got to take care of our poor, help them to uplift themselves, and make sure that everyone feels they're progressing with each other as Singaporeans. The middle-aged PMEs are what Sri Se has been very concerned about. And we are all concerned about in government. Sri Se has been talking about the fair consideration framework, talking about how we are going to get very serious about local concentrations of foreigners. Some industries having a real concentration of foreigners, some companies having a real concentration, and some departments within the same company having a concentration. Sri Se, as Manpower Minister, is looking very closely at this. But it's not just an issue of level playing field in Singapore. Our bigger challenge is how to avoid what is already happening in the United States and elsewhere. The economists call it polarization. The top is moving up. The bottom is able to get jobs, although low pay, but the middle is gradually disappearing in their workforce because technology is taking over. The digital revolution is taking over. Automation is taking over. This is a real challenge all over the world, in the most advanced countries, but increasingly all of us. And we will do everything we can to avoid this, to make sure that middle-income Singaporeans have good careers throughout their lives, that they don't get treated by employers midway through their careers as people who are dispensable, that they are invested in again by their employers, but with government providing very strong support. That's what Skills Future is about, continuous development through life. And we're going to put a lot of resources into this. Develop the skills of the future so that we can avoid this loss of jobs in the middle of our workforce. In every sector, advanced manufacturing, logistics and aerospace, finance, healthcare. Healthcare is going to change dramatically. Using technology, using data analytics, we can develop clinical procedures and decisions that nurses can make. We now have a new occupation called nursing clinicians. The clinicians are not just the doctors. Nurses can make clinical decisions because the technology and our experience and our techniques allow for it. Upgrade the job of nurses. Develop more specialists in geriatrics to take care of the old. Develop specialists in rehabilitation. A whole set of specializations in healthcare. We have to develop the skills, but also give Singaporeans good careers in these areas. So it's a very important area, quite apart from a level playing field in Singapore. Fair treatment to the workforce. It's about investing in the future of each Singaporean. so that no one peaks in their early 40s, the way it used to be. No one peaks in their early 40s. In your early 40s, you go on to another curve, and you keep moving up. It may be in a different job, or the same job, you deepen your specialization. That's what we have to do. And that's how we ensure that middle-income Singaporeans have a bright future. Finally, let me say, I didn't intend to talk about this under the East Coast skies, but I noticed that there have been several speeches in the last week about how there's this wonderful money available from reserves which can be used to expand our social spending. And I made a few quips about it earlier on, but looking at the recent speeches, I thought I'd better just address the points quite squarely. First, there is this idea that the government is actually making a very large surplus and hiding it away in reserves. And why don't we use this secret surplus and spend it instead on all the good things we want to spend on? Well, let me put it this way. First, there's this idea of IMF statistics showing a much larger surplus. It's not IMF statistics, it's our statistics. We give it to the IMF and we publish it ourselves. Those statistics showing a surplus include the monies the government gets from selling land. Now, why do we do that? Why do we not spend in Singapore the monies that we get from selling land and instead put it into reserves where it can earn an income? This is simply prudent long-term budgeting. It doesn't mean we're hiding the money in reserves. It means that we will draw continually on the reserves every year by using the income on reserves. This way, you will never have a government that will go and sell land quickly, particularly when there's a property boom, in order to get money and spend more. We have written it into the Constitution that government cannot spend money obtained from selling land. The money has to go into reserves because this was an asset you had. If you sell it, you keep it as an asset in your financial reserve. But it is not. This is not about saving money for great grandchildren. This is about money we are already benefiting from today. Because we have been prudent all along and have put the monies from selling land in reserves, today we have much higher investment income coming each year into our budget. This year, for instance, we have $9 billion of investment income. It's called Net Investment Returns Contribution, NIRC. $9 billion to be spent on social spending, infrastructure, anything. $9 billion. Of that $9 billion, $4 billion is attributable to the accumulated surpluses that went into our reserves due to the sale of land over the years. Had we spent it before, we would not now have this $9 billion. $4 billion comes from the reserves that were attributable to land sales. Very significant. So it's not just about benefiting our great-grandchildren. Today's generation, including today's older generation, is benefiting from this prudent budgeting. And it is a way in which we are fair to today's generation, but make sure that this same fairness extends to our children's generation and for all future generations. Stick to prudent budgeting. It is fair. Second idea that has come up is that the government makes some excess returns on top of what it pays the CPF. And this too is being stored away in reserves. It is not being stored away in reserves. Firstly, the government or the GIC, if it was simply managing CPF monies, it would not be investing long-term and taking significant risks in order to earn high returns. If you're managing only CPF monies, you have to be very careful because there's a guaranteed principal and interest. You'll have to invest in government bonds and maybe a bit of equities, but it'll be a very safe portfolio, not earning very much. Maybe just enough to pay the CPF. But in fact, the GIC is investing the surpluses from sale of land and many years of earlier government surpluses. And we are very lucky that when Singapore was young and growing rapidly, our leaders decided to run budget surpluses and not spend it immediately. We had 30 years, more than 30 years, of budget surpluses until year 2000. Which together with the sale of land has given us significant reserves. That is why GIC can invest long term, because it's managing government monies earned from past surpluses, not just CPF monies. If it was just CPF monies, it will not be earning very much. The investments will have to be very safe. But because it's managing significant government monies for the long term, GIC takes higher risks in order to earn higher returns. What happens to the returns? 50% of returns comes back into the budget for spending. This is the system. Today's generation benefits. The pioneers of today who were young before, they benefit, and tomorrow's generation benefits. Fair system. So let's not think that the government is squirreling away some savings and reserves and denying the people of benefits. We are already benefiting today from it, but we are doing it in a way that makes sure that future generations will get the same benefit. Finally, we are also changing our culture. In the old days, you had to depend on yourself. The government focused on basic education, gave people HDB homes, but there was very little social support. You had a social welfare department, only one, when people had homeless or they were suffering from malnutrition. Self-reliance. Every speech by Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Work hard, depend on yourself, raise your family well. That's the way to progress. Self-reliance. And the spirit of the pioneer generation, you know, the Hokkien song. Sa hun di chu tiao, shit hun po pa piao. 3 parts depend on the heavens, 7 parts depends on bitter hard struggle. That has to change. First, I don't think we can depend on the heavens, and the world around us is also a very unfriendly place. But we cannot just leave it to people to fend for themselves. You need an active government, supporting people, helping them from young through to their retirement years. You need a strong community reinforcing what people are doing for themselves. And you need to keep that same ethic of responsibility. Responsible government, responsible community, responsible individuals and families. I haven't worked out the Hokkien version of it, but that is the future song. The basic values of the founding generation are still relevant, but we have to adapt them for a new time. And the new times require an active government, supporting those who start with less, and ensuring that we mitigate inequalities through life, an active community so that our society remains strong. And it's not just me and the government. A strong society wherever we live. Volunteering in the senior activity centers, volunteering in every form of activity that makes people feel together on the ground. And individuals playing our role, discovering our strengths, working hard, taking pride in standing on our own feet. This is how we go forward together. This is how Singapore is changing. And this is how a changed PAP is going to lead you into the future. Thank you very much.
Residents of East Coast, let's show our support for our candidates from the People's Action Party! Majulah PAP, majulah Singapura! Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending the East Coast GRC PAP rally. I wish you a safe journey home, and if you see any rubbish on the floor, please help to pack up before you go home. Thank you, and have a good night.
Hey, hello.
Can I catch you for a comment about the speech just now? How about you? The camera's just there only behind. Hey, wait, run away! You want to back up first? Yeah. You want to back up first? I will for you.
Actually, tonight need rock pop. Need rock pop. Huh?
I will try.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask that guy. Hello sir, that's a very nice poster. Can I catch you for a shot?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, I'm from Happy TV and I was wondering if I can catch you for a few comments about the PAP speech just now. Just a few comments. Can?
I feel that this.
Okay.
I feel that this speech is quite a good. This speech is quite a good one. And then it basically covers all the aspects that most that most of us want to hear, which especially the generation Y, like me, because we are concerned on the PMAPs, and then basically this, especially the speech by DPM actually covers the PMAP area, which give us an assurance of what is going to happen for the next 5 years or beyond.
I got a question. Are you a resident of East Coast?
Yes, I'm a resident of East Coast.
I noticed that you are a strong supporter of Miss Jessica.
Because I help her out every Monday on the Meet the People sessions, and I really enjoy doing that.
Do you think the Workers' Party stands any chance in winning this time?
That one I have no comments about it, so sorry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. From Happy TV. Hello, uncle. Okay. Uncle, first question. Are you a resident of East Coast?
I'm Pasir Ris Punggol.
Pasir Ris Punggol. So how come we come all the way here?
This was my constituency before. I was former MP Changi.
Okay.
因为我这个部分是属于我江义区的地方。
Okay, so as you mentioned just now, the media has made East Coast out to be a very hot territory.
Yeah, hot. It's from before because the result had about 50%, so people thought that it was hot. But I think generally the residents should feel very happy about this place because from the day I took over, nothing was available for the residents, and within my few years I managed to bring everything practically for the residents, and then the next person took over. So I could see the next MPs who took over from me after that until Jessica came along. More improvements have been made now. So don't be swayed by all these opposition sweet talks and so on, that they want to query the government on this and on that. But the important thing is that what could they do? And nobody has raised a question about what could you do for me if I voted for you. But they just only talk. But the important thing is on the ground, do what is possible and what is good for the residents, a better quality of life, and improve on it as we go along. And I think with the speeches that Mr. Tharman had made, I think that should clarify a lot of things on these CPM matters, on how our money has been invested to make life easier for us because of the budget surplus. I think that's good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Where are you from?
Happy TV. Hi, Singaporeans.
Happy TV. I never heard of this Happy TV.
Streaming live for Yahoo. No, you heard of Yahoo News?
Yahoo News, yes.
Single student.
Yes, Yahoo. Yeah.
You got the postcard. I ran.
Hey, hello.
Hello, thank you.
Oh, this is the one.
Yes. Happy TV.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Thank you, uncle. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Huh? Do I have to sign out now? Huh? Don't need Hello, this is Happy TV, reporting live from Simei. So as you can tell, the crowd is still surrounding Mr. Lim Swee. He's an extremely popular fella. He's also the leading MP of East Coast GRC for the PAP team. It's the last day of the election season. It's going to be cooling off day tomorrow, and then the day after that we go to the polling booth. East Coast continues to be a hotly contested territory by all standards. the Workers' Party rally here a few days ago saw an attendance of about 30,000 people. Today's attendance was about 5,000 people, going by my estimates. But as we know, sometimes rally turnouts doesn't always translate to votes. Let's just see what happens on polling day. Until then, this has been Happy TV. Thanks for watching. Bye.